G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR and welcome to a chat that I'm really looking forward to. I tell you what, I've been following this great man for years and years. I don't want to embarrass him, but let's be honest, he's the GOAT of fantasy. Most of you that watch this channel will know who this man is, but I would like to welcome Selby, aka Moreiras Magic. Thank you very much for coming on, mate. It is an absolute honour to be chatting with you.
DR, cheers, mate. Good to be on and good to learn the background of DR and why you are called that. Daniel's Riches. As I said, I've called you the Doc for a while, but I'll call you Riches from now on.
Yeah, the LD version of Dr. Supercoach, as I say, mate. But look, mate, again, thank you very much for coming on. We will talk about something special that you've put together for all of us Supercoach and fantasy players a little bit later on in the video. But for those one or two people that may be tuning in and don't know who you are, mate, could you give us a little bit of a background about what you do in regards to fantasy and Supercoach and a little bit of your history with fantasy sports, mate?
Yeah, mate. Yep. So fantasy footy, AFL Fantasy was my more preferred platform initially, and played that for years growing up. Dabbled a bit with SuperCoach as well, but lucky enough to win the fantasy comp in 2017. So got myself a Hilux and the bells and whistles which come with it, grand final tickets and the rest, and then backed it up the year after that, 2018, and won it again. So back to back or two AFL Fantasy wins, and then since that have been in the content space. So we provide a lot of content for initially AFL Fantasy, whether it was this season guide we'll speak about at the end, and preseason content, a lot of the data I use or used to find helpful in picking my squad and trades each week. And then some in-season stuff as well. We've obviously advanced to some podcasts as well. So Xavier Ellis, ex-Hawthorn Premiership player, he does the podcast with us, he's been a great addition on our end. And yeah, since giving up fantasy, obviously that's where I give most of my content to. So lots of reasons why I don't play that. One, because it's unbiased by me giving advice, not playing. But realistically, I know that I was lucky enough to win it a couple of times, so I might as well finish on a high. And now trying my hand at SuperCoach. So yeah, been playing that and giving content for that the last couple of years as well, which I've really enjoyed. Really enjoying the game SuperCoach.
Fantastic. And very quickly, mate, I'm not sure if you know off the top of your head, you've really been playing SuperCoach, well, let's just say half seriously, for the last 2 years. You've told us about AFL Fantasy. I reckon the reason why you've quit that is because your garage isn't big enough, mate, because you know there's going to be another couple of Hiluxes or cars in there. But very quickly, tell us about your last two rankings in the game of SuperCoach.
Yeah, no, so when you say half serious, I've been taking very seriously SuperCoach the last couple of years. So 2023 when I made the return back to fantasy footy, and again, lucky, I say, which is a lot of luck, as we both know, to finish 7th in 2022. And then last year, it was a 280. I was just saying, we tried to get it up before the site disappears. 289th last year. I think we joked before that it sounds like there might be 40 trades this year, which we'll speak about in a bit. But I needed every bit of those 40 trades last year with the Dacos, Ridley, and there's another key defender I had out where I was just copping a donut after donut to finish the season. So no, it's some nice rankings, and especially as we know how competitive and how sophisticated the players are and coaches are this day and age. So very proud of those ranks.
That is lit. I've been toiling away at this game for 15, 20 years, and my best rank overall is 33rd. So you just come in, mate, and get yourself a top 10. I absolutely love it. And it goes to show lots of people. And look, I do agree that in the game of fantasy, and I've given BBL a bit of a crack this year, BBL SuperCoach, given the NBL SuperCoach a bit of a crack. AFL is certainly my baby, but there is luck involved. Don't get me wrong. But when we get blokes like yourself that take out fantasy 2 years in a row, top 10 finish and a top 300 finish, there is certainly a lot of skill involved. I often think it's a bit like poker. You do need a bit of luck. Your aces can get cracked quite easily on the flop. But at the same time, you do get those pros that are always up there at the top echelon. So how much skill compared to luck do you think's actually involved in the game, mate?
Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of luck involved, as we all know, whether it's through injury or Rolls, there's elements of luck with roll. Like someone might be shaping up to be the great pick, and then you pick them, and all of a sudden Bevo becomes Bevo and throws them somewhere else. But as long as you do your research and look at the numbers and back yourself in the role, but yeah, injury, there's no question that's a massive element of it. But there's the way it's played, and the strategy keeps changing, and that's why it's probably a good thing, all these curveballs. I know people don't like these extra trades being thrown at us, but at least with these new rules means that there's no perfect blueprint. We've got to keep on refining strategy. But I think if you've got a strategy which works and apply it again, then that level of skill, so you might be able to call it, probably makes up a good 60-70%. But I think as long as you get even luck, you should find yourself in that top, 10,000, 5,000 is a good rank these days with the sophistication amongst the board. But to go towards a pointy end, that's where that luck really becomes in. The difference between a 2,000th ranked coach and a top 10 coach, a lot of luck comes in that.
And I think another reason for, I think your success as well is the research that you put into the game. We know that we're going to talk about this season guide in a little while. And I tell you what, everyone, if you're looking for the ultimate, I'm going to call it the Fantasy Supercoach Bible this year, this is what you want to get onto. It is absolutely elite. And as I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, I know that fantasy's been your main background before, Selby. There may be some people like me that have been really into SuperCoach, but maybe looking to transfer or at least give fantasy a bit of a red hot crack. So when it comes to the strategy SuperCoach fantasy, do you think that there is a big difference in strategy? Or do you think maybe if we are getting some extra trades in SuperCoach, that people with more of a fantasy background may be able to use that knowledge and strategy more in the game of SuperCoach? What are your thoughts about that, mate?
Yeah, it certainly is getting closer in terms of the strategy with those increased amount of trades, because old school mentality, more so in fantasy, was guns and rooks. Pick who you think is going to be at the top of each line, because you're going to want them to own at one point. So rather than saving trades and using trades during the year to fill out those premiums, you might as well start with them, and then you get your rookies as cash generators to make the cash, which you can then eventually upgrade them to get a full team of premiums. With these extra trades, I think the change came in, I think it was 2014 in AFL Fantasy, where it just became 2 trades per week, use or lose. So you were able to take a haircut on those top echelon players, knowing that you've got enough trades, you'll eventually get them in. You're better off generating more cash with people who are priced a little bit below that, but might outperform that cash price by more, generate more cash quicker, which meant that you could complete your team quicker and have that full team of premiums for a longer period of time. This is where the balance comes, and that's why I'm really liking this SuperCoach game, because it's now become, we say old school, now the old school mentality in fantasy now, not everyone's aware. You don't pick these highest price player, even though he's going to be the best player. You're better off taking a haircut and getting the value, generating some cash, spreading your cash across your whole squad. Whereas SuperCoach still certainly has that element of knowing that, well, even with 40 trades, knowing that you're probably going to get 10 injury force trades during the year with these extra buys at the start. Do you trade them? So then you're dealing with maybe 25 trades for, you're upgrading, 1 down, 1 up. That means there's 12 spots to upgrade. So if you've got your 22 on field, you might still have 10 players who will be in your starting squad who you're going to hold for the full season. So while they might not be the top echelon, you still want to be pretty confident they're going to score top 6, top 8, top 2 numbers. And it's just that trade-off of, well, can you take a haircut on those players, knowing that you're going to save some cash and get more good ones in there? And that's where, as I said, I'm still yet to conquer this SuperCoach game, and I'm trying to find that good balance of the value picks, re those who you can finish your side with. And I mentioned I run out of trades the last 2 years I've run out of trades on the way home, and a lot of them been forced to use these trades from getting rid of someone who's like that 10 to 15th ranked player in their position. They've been great for the early year, which gives you set up for success, but you're then just giving up so many points away at the pointy end of the season when those teams have those locked in top 6, top 8. So it's certainly getting close. The more trades we're getting in SuperCoach, the more of a risk you can take. I think the old school mentality is, if you get a mid-prizer, you want them to at least generate 150K worth to be worthwhile of a mid-price pick. I think that number can become a little bit lower now. But there's a lot more pressure with that pick because you just haven't got those luxury trades like you do in the fantasy game.
Very good point. And look, this is maybe personal opinion, but I think this is pretty much the agreed, I suppose, unwritten law between most super coaches that a trade's valued around 150K. Maybe that changes. Maybe that changes with the extra trades that we're getting. Maybe we are looking to flip some of those rookie players a little bit earlier. I'm someone that's been a bit of a safer player in the past, like one of those squirrels, saving the acorns and the nuts in the tree for a bit of a rainy day. But I actually had a boost left in the bank last year. So I think that I probably need to change my strategy up a little bit and start to become a little bit more aggressive, because I think if I don't change that element to my strategy towards the game, then I may be left behind a little bit. So that's why I have been interested in the way that you go about your fantasy stuff, because I think that's probably something that I have to do late, mate, is be a little bit more aggressive. Would you say the last couple of years you've played SuperCoach, you've been an aggressive type player to start off the season?
Yeah, no question. But it's hard for me to give advice on that because I've also been the bloke who's run out of trades at round 18 and sit there on my hands. But which sometimes a good thing, because some of the worst trades are those luxury trades towards the end of the year. But yeah, in terms of the boost, my opinion, no question, the most important time of the year for points and to succeed with the cash generators is getting your early team right. So those boosts, in my opinion, they're best used in round 3, 4, 5, 6, and just get those 3 trades. It might be 2 down to get 1 up to kickstart that upgrade season, or it might be a matter of, you'll see every year, last year it was a Setterfield, a Jack Zeeble, those mid-prices who become the competition-winning picks. Yesteryear, you had to either pick one or go without, or save your trade and let them go, whereas now it's a matter of you can actually fit them all in. So certainly I think the best way is to be aggressive early season to make sure you get those correct picks, and then it's up to the SuperCoach gods to make sure that you don't have too many injuries that you can complete your squad. But you still need those keepers, and again, that's where I need to refine my game. So I think the old school word people love using, particularly around content, is must-haves, and
yes,
they say the must-haves are like whether it's a Tim English must-have or of yesteryear Gary Ablett Jr., like the best player in the comp. Whereas I think the must-haves are those who are keepers, top 6, top 8, top 2, who are also coming in at a lower price. They're really the only must-haves, or them and the rookies, in SuperCoach. If you can get someone who, what was 2 years ago when it was a Will Brodie, a George Hewitt, these players who are cheap and they end up being keepers, they're your knockout picks. So you're saving cash, you're generating cash, and you're saving a trade because they're in your team all year. So I think that's the mentality of you worry about being left behind. You ignore the must-haves and everyone getting these big scorers. It's, well, who's a chance to get top in their position, but you can also get them at a discount.
Fantastic advice, mate. Fantastic advice. Now, I'm not sure if you've been playing around the team picker or not, or actually thought too much about who you're going to be starting with at this stage. But when you are looking to start your side, and I know you've only been really serious super coaching for a couple of years, but let's just go more of a super coach focus here. Are you looking for the first players that you lock in? Are you looking at the players that present the most value? Are you looking at those rookies? Just start off by locking in your favorite premiums? How do you go about actually setting up your starting side, mate? Did you have a particular focus when you're originally making this side?
Yeah, and it was harder this year with this opening round business because I dare say if a Taylor Adams, a Grundy, a Gawn, a Flanders, if they all pop in this opening round, then James Jordan even, we're all going to be jumping on the same play. If they go a substandard score, knowing they're going to have a buy in the next couple of weeks and you're not going to miss out on a big cash injection, you're going to jump off. So it's a very different setting up our squads this time of year because I think we'll see more changes than ever after this opening round. But typically, rookies dictate structures. So if there's some gun rookies across each line, you put them in, and then that then lets you know how much you can then spend on the other lines. We've been blessed the last couple of years, whether it was a Dacos, a Sheasel. And this year, it sounds like there'll be a couple of really good ones. McKercher from Kangaroos and Harley Reid, I think, is going to pick himself as well. So the rookies are what you should be putting in your side to start, which then dictates your structure, knows how much you've got to spend. If you're light on the rookies, you might then have to take a haircut, but then there's no point picking value everywhere because you need to eventually score some points and you need to spend that money somewhere. So it's then allocating where you want to spend those funds for the top players, which is what I didn't do as much in the fantasy games. I knew I could eventually get to those top players, but last year I started with a Bontempelli in the thought that he was going to be a top scorer. The year before I started with, I can't know, it might have been a Jack McRae. It was someone who I earmarked to be the top scorer. So I was happy to spend pretty well fair value on that expensive player, which, as I said, goes away from my fantasy mindset. But especially with this 2 cracks at the captain of SuperCoach with the rolling lockouts, I think it's certainly worthwhile paying up for at least one big dog.
Love it, mate. And how do you feel about leaving some cash in the bank with your original starting side? Because I know for me in the past, there's been times where I've used almost every dollar. I've been, there's maybe a couple of K left in the bank if I'm on a good day. But what can happen at times, I think, is when it comes to the end of round 2 and those prices are looking to change. Remember, that is a little bit different this year with round 0 players, etc. But I often feel that there's a couple of moves that I can't make. It may be as simple as going from 117K bloke to a 123K rookie. If you've only got a couple of grand in there, you can't even make a simple move like that. So do you tend to try to leave a little bit in the bank in order to make some early moves early on the season? Or are you more of the school of thought, use all your money while it's there, it's wasted having too much in the bank? Do you have a certain amount that you look to have made? Do you have any rules in regards to cash in the bank with your starting side?
Not by design. So in AFL Fantasy, I finished with my 2 winning years. I think I had $0 in the bank, and there's no better feeling than when you think you settle on a squad where you think this is which is never a perfect squad. You've always got fix-up trades, but when you sit there, it's almost like it's meant to be when there's $0 there. Whereas that game, cash moves after round 1. So say if you pick a basement price rookie and they flop and they don't move in price, but then someone else rookie you can get flies up in price, you're going to need that extra cash to jump up on the next one in round 1. So there's certainly an argument in AFL Fantasy to start with a bit of a cash buffer because those fix-up trades likely the dud you want to trade out hasn't moved in price and the one you want to go in has gone up. Whereas SuperCoach, we're obviously blessed. You can argue either way if it's good or bad that the prices don't move after round 1. I like them moving after round 1 because it at least rewards that early mover in your starting squad. But you've got the capability, if there's a rookie who's popped or you don't own, who's put up 2 big ones and your one's been 2 duds, you can swap them for the same cash. So I personally don't think it's worthwhile starting with extra money. Money's equals points. You might as well get them on your field and hope for the best. Again, that's probably the more aggressive route, but I think we can afford to be aggressive knowing that the prices aren't moving after that first week. And with these boosts, it's highly likely you'll be making 3 trades at the end of round 2, and you can fix up there with cash. I think after round 2 last year, I traded Jack McRae down to a mid-pricer, which then gave me the cash to make. You can always find cash in this game, particularly with these extra trades.
Yeah, I noticed playing a bit of AFLW fantasy last year that I didn't get those couple of rookies that I really needed to, and bang, they're gone all of a sudden.
Them.
So
yeah.
I think it seems like fantasy may reward the better starting teams, where in SuperCoach you may be able to get away with maybe not having the optimal starting team, given the fact that prices take those couple of weeks to rise, as well as these boosts that you can use as well. So some people are a fan of that. Some people aren't. I think the people that are a fan of it, the ones that obviously stuff up their starting team like I did last year, I was ranked about 90K at the end, mate. Finished around the 2,000 mark, so managed to bring it home okay in the end. But I think some of those picks I had, like your Bruin, I thought could break out. Your Wanganeen Miller at the start of the season, 5 killed me. So personally, I'm probably looking to go more of a guns and rookies approach this year. Are you looking to do the same thing, or are you still looking to throw in some of those mid prices like you may in your fantasy, mate? Have you made a decision on that, or do you have a particular way of thinking about that at the moment?
Yeah, a couple of things on that, and I think that just shows like you do so much research and pre-season, look at last year, last 5 new roles, follow the news, and that you can throw the baby out with the bathwater after just one round. And I think my year when I won fantasy, the first year I was coming 20 odd thousandth after round one, and then obviously ended up winning that week there. And same SuperCoach, it's always around that 1,000 marks. It always takes a bit of couple of weeks for the dust to settle if you actually get a real feel for what your team is doing. And it's funny, and this is where the luck comes into it. So Tanner Bruin, I imagine in 2 years' time, we'll look back and be like, this kid's an absolute gun. And you were like, I picked him as a forward, eligible, cheap price, new club in a team which just lost Joel Selby. It should have been a good pick. Wanganeen Miller, there's no more impressive defender, running defender in the game than him. Like, he looked, if he had his role, which he did at the end of the year, as he did at the start, you would have been like, what a superstar. So that's where you can't let the game sort of ride the emotions too much, because you make some great decisions. Just that's where the luck comes in. In terms of this year, so when you say leave some cash for fix-up trades, that's an advantage of paying up for the top dog, because if you need cash, you know you can always come down to that mid-pricer who pops, and that cash will then give you money to go up with a few failed mid-price up to a premium, or a rookie up to a better rookie. So that's what I did last year with a Jack McRae, where it's a big risk starting with these mid-prices, as you said, because if they're no good, rookies make cash for you, premiums make the points. If you've got a good mid-pricer, they can make cash and make points, like we saw with Hewitt and Brody the year before. But if a bad mid-pricer doesn't make your points and doesn't make your cash. So the risk of starting with one is you've got to get rid of them. So by not starting with them and waiting to see how the dust settles, you can always come down to them. So there's definitely an argument to guns and rooks. I haven't given it enough thought yet. I'm still doing my player profiles for the guide, but whether this best 18 for, 4 of the first 6 rounds, you get best 18. So an advantage of doing less guns and rooks and a mid-pricer philosophy is it means you get less rookies on the field. So while you might not get the big gun scores, you save an extra couple of 40-point scores from dud rookies on the field. But knowing that 4 of them are going to drop off each week for those early rounds, you might be forward to do the old school guns and rooks, knowing that the rookies aren't going to count anyway. So you're better off having a premium score than a mid-price. But that's that sort of strategy side I really need to dive into, because that's going to dictate the start of this season, that's for sure.
I think for me, mate, when it comes to mid-prices, I'm taking a really close look at those players who are actually playing in round 0. Dev Rob being an example. Where we're lucky is we're able to actually see what their role in game's going to be like. You know, usually we look at these preseason games and maybe some guns that are rested. Maybe the coach is just trialing some plays in different positions. But I think where we're really lucky this year with those particular teams is we can see what their role is actually going to be like on game day. We won't be guessing, will Dev Rob, and I'm just using him as an example, will he be spending some extra time in the middle, given the fact that Ashcroft's out at the start, or will we be playing more of a wing role, maybe a pressure forward role? That's one thing that I really like about the round 0 mid-price, the fact we can actually have a look. And I think that there may be a fair few changes in sides if some of these mid-prices do pop off, because we know that their prices are going to rise a little bit earlier. And even given the fact that they will have 1 or 2 buys coming up, I can possibly stomach that, knowing that we've got that data on the one round. It looks like their price is going to rise early. So that's a bit of a strategy that I'm looking at, particularly with the mid-prices, because as we know, mate, it is so tough to get it right. And I understand that 1 week of data isn't the be-all and end-all, but the fact that we can actually get free data from what's it going to be 4 games early on, I think is an absolute godsend, mate.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of names too. Like a lot of the relevant mid-prices are playing round 0, whether it is a Taylor Adams or a James Jordan or whoever it is. So no question, that's going to dictate the sides. And I think it's good that that score, and I actually haven't known for sure, I know that is in fantasy, but that score is still, while it doesn't count for fantasy, it still counts for their rolling average and their price movement.
Same thing in SuperCoach, mate.
Even though that you're going to get a buy in the early, the trade-off is, well, at least you know this score. If Dev Rob gets a 120, it's like, oh, I'm a guaranteed 120 here built into this 3. That price rise is going to be worth that early buy. So I think it's a neat solution for a complex thing, this opening round, knowing that these players are still relevant despite them having that early buy, because we get, as you said, a free look at roll, a free look at score, and almost a guaranteed price rise if you get on the right one.
Absolutely, mate. And look, I know that some people now, maybe given the fact we've got the 40 trades, maybe looking to start a Tom Green in SuperCoach is someone that we all wanted to, but with his dodgy fixture, he was probably off my list. But with the extra 40 trades, maybe we can possibly look to get another one or two players from the round zero team. So that's going to be really interesting. But as I said, I think after we get these 4 games under our belt, there may be a fair few changes to the sides, mate. But look, we know how successful you've been. Do you have any tips for people on what they should be doing during the preseason in order to set themselves up for a really successful season in SuperCoach or Fantasy? What sort of stuff do you look to do when you put in your preseason research, mate?
I consume a lot of content, and I think that's part of the game. I know we get so caught up in those couple of days on the weekend about the scores, but part of the most of the fun is listening to the podcast, watching these sorts of videos, reading the Twitter feeds of the match sim, and being on the journey. So certainly I do hear some people say, oh, there's no point looking at what's happening in January, but that's all part of, I think, take it all in, making your mental notes. In terms of research, so I'm big on the data, whether it's looking at what they did the last 5 games of last year, post-bye last year, how their role changed, how that impacted their scoring, what role I think they're going to play this year, and what they're priced at from last year, and if I think they can outperform that by a certain amount. So we're so lucky in this day and age that we get access to all that data, and it's all public, whether it's centre bounces or scoring or time on ground, and seeing, oh, this player like Devrob, you say, was whatever he was 5-6 times. So take out those sub-affected games and then take out the games he didn't get centre bounce. If he's going to get this centre bounce role, can he average this? If he averages this, he's going to make 180K in 4 weeks. So certainly there's a big numbers element to it, but you also don't have to be a data scientist to succeed in the game. That is the beauty of the game. Anyone can win, as long as you get the right players on the right year.
Excellent advice, mate. And I think another thing is to just get chatting with people, start networking, get in a good chat group. I think that's, for me anyway, and we were talking a little bit about this pre-podcast, the most enjoyable thing about not just making content, but playing the game of SuperCoach is all the networking that you do. I've got some really great mates that I've met through the game. And so I think for me, that's one of the best parts of it, mate. But when it comes to preseason research, you have made it a lot easier for us this year because you have put in hours and hours, days and days, I'd almost say probably months and months of research to put together what I think is the best preseason tool available on the planet. And it is your preseason or your season guide for 2024. Now, what's great about this guide is that it caters for all types of players, not just fantasy focused. You also have a SuperCoach focus in your guide this year, mate. So let's get into it. Can you tell the community what's involved in your 2024 Moreiras Magic preseason guide?
Yeah, so bit of background first. So it all started obviously after I won the 2 times in 2 years, and Matt DeBoer, who we never like him as SuperCoach as fantasy because he used to always tag our captain.
It destroyed me.
But he was a good mate of mine, and he was obviously well aware of how passionate fantasy fans and fans in general are about their fantasy footy, and he was on the backlash of a lot. He used to wake up after a big tagging Dusty Martin, copping abuse. Oh, you ruined my captain. So he was obviously well aware of the passion. And he said to me, look, you could probably, all your research you do, because he knew I had all these different starter and spreadsheets when it was a lot harder to access this back in the day. He said, you could sell some of this data and make a bit of money. And obviously I just won the 2 cars in 2 years. So I was like, mate, I don't want to be that greedy bloke who tries to get more. And he was also on the board at Starlight, and we've spoken before, both as far the amazing work that they do. So we started as a fundraising initiative. That was 2018. So it's been now, I think this will be the 7th of the season guides, where it was initially just purely an unformatted Excel spreadsheet going through last 5, what they scored, how that ranked amongst their position, their career best score, what they were amongst their position. But now it's since flowed through to some commentary attached to it to help put those numbers to words for those who aren't as good with the data. And I'll explain what their different roles change and how I feel about that player, what they need to score to make their 150K, what their role was in the past, if they could reach that mark. And then there's also articles and podcasts which come with it, which goes all the way up until round one starts. So moreirasmagic.com.au, Moreiras Magic. Shocking name to remember, spell, and pronounce, but jump on and check it out. We put a lot of work into it and enjoy it. So that's got all the stats I look at when I'm assessing a player's ability and potential to either be a top player in their echelon, because you'll be able to see how their last 5 games, yes, they might have had a great finish to the season, but that only ranked them 14th best mid. So it's like, are they going to go back to that level? If so, they're still not going to be a keeper, but someone like a Luke Davies-Uniacke, who I think was the second highest SuperCoacher, that back end, is like, well, he's priced at the 15th highest. He's got shown he can be a top couple, and that's how you can sort of get that ultimate pick I was talking at the start, which is underpriced from what they're capable of doing, and what they're capable of doing is keeper level numbers, or is the mid-pricer what they need to score to get that magic 150K mark. And you can see over the history, whether it's a Zachy Williams or a Nat Fife, obviously they've got the ability to do so, but are they going to play a role which will allow that to happen? So all that sort of stuff you can pull from these numbers which we provide. And we try to make it as enjoyable as possible too, as you do here, where we mentioned before, that's not just about the game, it's about the community and entertainment as well.
Absolutely, mate. And my good man, Janeth, who I do the podcast with here, SuperCoach Swordplay, he is a big, big numbers man. And I was chatting with him the other day saying, I'm going to be having a chat with Selby. And I'll tell you what, he said, as a numbers man, the best set of data that you can get in the game. So that is very high praise from Janeth. And, mate, why I originally actually reached out to you was because of the fact that all the proceeds go to the Starlight Foundation. So all of this work that you put into it, mate, and as I said, it'd be hours and hours and hours. Everything goes to the Starlight Foundation. Being a primary school teacher myself, I've worked with a couple of kids that have actually received a wish, and it's changed their lives, not just their lives, but their families' lives as well. We talked earlier about the impact that kid sickness can have on siblings as well. So the fact that these profits go towards changing the life of a child is just phenomenal, mate. How much money, do you have a rough idea, just a rough idea in your head, how much you've been able to raise since the season guides have been out with the Starlight, mate?
I think it's around I've got to get the exact number. It's 26 wishes and it's $6,500 a wish. So it's about 140 odd grand, which, we by supporting them like we have done, we've obviously been visited the rooms, the express rooms in hospitals, and seen the visions of some of these wishes. So certainly makes it all worthwhile, the effort. Obviously, I've got the in-season when the season kicks off, and I've got a package there, and that's how the whole that allows me to do this thing in the pre-season. But we cap it at 4 wishes, so hoping to get the 26 grand this year for the Starlight Foundation and go around again.
That is absolutely amazing, mate. Like, the respect that I have for you as a fantasy player is through the roof, but my respect for you as a human, for what you do for these kids is just, as I said, just amazing, mate. I've got no words for it, to be quite honest. And what I'll be doing, mate, I've obviously ordered my copy, but I will be getting a second copy and giving a giveaway to anyone that leaves a comment on this video. So leave a comment down below. We'll go into a live draw. I'll get the wheel of names up, and whoever gets selected for that, you'll also receive a copy of the season guide for Moreiras Magic as well. And look, I encourage everyone to get around this, because not only is it the best preseason resource that you are going to get, you know that the money is going to go to supporting a kid that's obviously got some issues in life and things aren't working out too well, to make a huge difference to them. So I applaud anyone that does get the guide. And Selby, hats off to you, mate. Thank you very, very much on behalf of everyone in this community for what you actually do for us and more importantly for the kids, mate.
No, good on you. And that's, as I said, it's a bigger game than this fantasy game, and we stress about each week, and it's about the community, and obviously that their supporters. It's all on, like, it's not mine, it's the members' contribution which has done this. So obviously thankful to anyone who does support it, but and if not, like we also provide a lot of stuff over socials, and there's some podcasts out at the moment. So yeah, hope everyone just enjoys their content and gets around this community which we all know and love.
Absolutely, mate. And I will have all of your socials and the link to your pods and the link to the season guide and the website down below on the video as well. So if anyone's looking where to go to get that, all info would be down below. But again, on X or Twitter, I keep on going between X or Twitter. I'm a bit old school, mate. I'll call it Twitter. So obviously Selby is very active on Twitter as well, and all the info will be there. But mate, I would love to talk with you for the next 24 hours straight, to be quite honest. I'd get the coffees up and get the caffeine into me. But you are a busy man. We're pretty much gone for our 40 minutes, I think, here, mate. I've loved every minute of this chat. And as I said, mate, I've been following you for years and years. And to finally be able to have the pleasure to sit down with you and talk about the game, talk about life as well, it's been an absolute pleasure for me, mate. So thank you very, very much for coming on. And the invitation is absolutely open to come on anytime you like, Selby. Thank you very much again, legend.
No, good on you, Dio. I enjoyed it. And as I said, we probably didn't do a deep dive into players, but you guys are all over that as it is. But more hopefully the philosophies come across, which is, try and work out what someone's capable of doing, what they're priced at. You obviously divide their price by that magic number and how you think that will sit. That's kind of when you say the blueprint, that's kind of what I live by in this game, and it's worked so far, and hopefully one more year again, we'll see how it goes.
Awesome, mate. Well, thank you very, very much for coming on again. Thanks for watching, guys. There'll be plenty more preseason content, but let's be honest, if you want the best preseason content possible, get that guide, head over to the website, and make sure that you listen to Selby's podcast. As he said, he does that with ex-AFL player Xavier Ellis. And what I love about Xavier as well, got a nice sense of humour, got a good sense of humour as well. So not only will you get some great info there, but there's always plenty of great banner and plenty of great laughs as well. So thanks again, guys. Thanks, Selby. And we'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers.